Okay, hello everyone. We are live here on YouTube and also live on Facebook. We're just going to get this stream going right off the bat. Go ahead and let me know where you are watching from and what the conditions are like in your neighborhood. I'm just going to let a few more people hop into this stream before we get rolling any further. We are going to be looking at the possibility of a Christmas Eve windstorm, and we are hoping that it is not something that's actually going to come to fruition, but we cannot promise that because we don't ever 100% know what's going to happen, but the models are still hinting at this possibility. So I'm just going to let a few more people hop in. Again, let me know where you're watching from. Let me know what your conditions are. And I'm just going to make a quick post on Facebook here before we really get rolling with this, and then we will start talking. Okay. That's good. Yeah, some of the solutions that are showing up in the models are a little bit rowdy, not going to lie. And even though I'm a storm chaser, I would much prefer there not be a major windstorm on Christmas Eve. I can handle what we had today, for example, which just got a little bit breezy, nothing too crazy. And also, as you're hopping in on the YouTube, if you want to do me a giant favor and just hit that like button, that'll help get this live stream out to more and more people. And for all of you people hopping in on Facebook, I am live on YouTube, as you can see, and you can find the YouTube link pinned in the comments there on Facebook. All right, I see plenty of people hopping in. Hello, everyone. And let's go ahead and get started with this. And feel free to ask questions, and I'll be periodically checking up on the chats for your questions, and I'll try to pause and answer any questions that you may have. Okay, so right now we're looking at the satellite imagery. You can see the system that's moving through, and we can also see all this cold air pouring off of Alaska and Canada down across the Gulf of Alaska and the Pacific Ocean. And this is what is going to lead towards the formation of a rather large trough just off of our coast. I'm going to put this on the North America view real quick for you guys so you can see what this trough looks like. The thing is just a absolute beefcake. Look at this thing. We're actually on the ensemble data right there. I'm going to pop this over to the regular European deterministic 300 millibar winds. And yeah, look at that thing. It just carves out right off of the west coast. And then you see this just huge jet streak go right over North California, Oregon, and Washington State. And that jet support is really what is part of that's going to be fueling this possible windstorm on Christmas Eve. So going back here a bit, this is looking at the 18Z European ensemble data here, and it actually kind of brought back this low. The 12Z had backed away to some degree, but now we can see that the most recent 18Z European has brought it back to some degree and is a little bit further west, which would lead to stronger winds for places like the Willamette Valley and also into Washington State. But there is still some uncertainty with just how strong this low is going to be and how much wind there is going to be. And by the way, thank you, Kathy, over on Facebook for the stars. I appreciate it. Let me know how the stream quality is, if it's working for you. It's showing on my end that it's excellent, but I just want to make sure that it's working for all of you guys before continuing too much further. I'm going to check the audio right here myself before I continue on. It's working for you. It sounds good here. Okay. So something else that's interesting is here we have the NAM 3KM, and it has been consistently showing a rather strong storm forming off of the west coast of California. Look at that. That's San Francisco Bay way down there. And I am actually going to turn up my pointer size a little bit for you guys to make it easier for everyone at home to see. All right, let me know if that's better for you. But yeah, look at this. That's San Francisco Bay, and we have this huge low forming off of the west coast of California. I mean, that's Santa Barbara way down here. This thing forms really far away, and then it peaks in strength on this most recent model run here. That's actually the 12Z run. We'll put this on the 0Z. It peaks in strength just off of the northwest Washington coast, the northwest California coast rather, and the southwest Oregon coast at 971 millibars. If this were to actually verify, that would just be an absolutely brutal windstorm for the northwest California coast and the southwest Oregon coast. Just truly brutal if that were to verify. And then it goes up just off of the Oregon coast, and that would bring a really strong blow to the Oregon coast and the Willamette Valley. And then it continues to bring a pretty tight pressure gradient across portions of Washington state. So even though it's in a weakening stage at that point in the model run, that would still be a pretty big blow for Washington state. So that's just what the NAM 3KM is showing. Before I go any further, we do have some stuff happening here in Washington state. Nothing too crazy going on at the moment. We did have a low move through up here, and it brought a cold front across the region. Got some rain spreading across right now. And if we were to look at some of the wind speeds with this, nothing too crazy is happening at the moment. We got wind gusts up to 25 in Arlington, 26 over there at Payne Field, 24 miles per hour down there at SeaTac. But earlier, there were some decent gusts, but really nothing too crazy. There were some power flickers and some sporadic power outages. Ignore this 67 miles per hour right there on Whidbey Island. That's an anomaly, probably a weather station that's not calibrated correctly. The Tacoma Narrows did gust to 52 miles per hour, but I'm kind of curious if that station needs some recalibration as well. I'm going to reach out to the National Weather Service about that and ask them that. Down there at the Olympia Airport today, gusted to 43. Bowerman Airport in Hoquiam, 53. Westport, 48. Pretty run-of-the-mill standard stuff around here. Destruction Island, 62 miles per hour. That's a pretty good gust over there. And 42 over there in La Push, 45 up there in Oak Harbor. And as I already mentioned here, we got some rain coming through, and that's also going to be falling in the form of some snow up there in the mountains. Taking a quick look at their cameras. It looks like there is a little bit of snow falling up there at Snoqualmie Pass right now. Accumulating on the freeway. I almost drove up there tonight, but yeah, look at that. Chains required on all vehicles right now up at Snoqualmie Pass. Yeah, I considered driving up there tonight, but I figured it was more important actually to go over the possibilities of what could be coming down the pipe on Christmas Eve. So here is looking at the NAM 3KM in a different view, and you can just see this thing just slide up the coast here. That would just be an incredible track for a windstorm. Now, is what is exactly is showing on the NAM 3KM actually going to occur? That's where the uncertainty is, because the NAM 3KM is showing this, but then we have things like the HRRR model, for example, that have the storm, but not nearly as strong and taking a different track. Now, that would still have a pressure rise on the backside of it. Then brings some windy conditions to Oregon and portions of Washington and California. But that's not nearly the kind of storm that we're seeing on the NAM 3KM. The NAM 3KM is just a completely different animal. And to give you an idea of what the NAM 3KM is showing in wind gusts here, this is what the NAM 3KM brings through Washington State in its weakening state. Look at that, just some wind gusts in the 60 to 67 miles per hour in Olympia, 69 Tacoma. I mean, just ridiculous wind speeds if the NAM 3KM were to actually verify. And then down there in the Willamette Valley, just brutal stuff like 70 to 80 mile per hour winds on that model run alone. And this is tonight's run of the NAM 3KM. This is this afternoon's, and tonight's run actually increased the wind speeds. Now, I do want to clarify again. I'm not saying that the NAM 3KM is for sure going to occur, but it is concerning that it's showing anything relatively close to that. Now, this is the most recent run of the European. I'm really curious what the European is going to show on tonight's run. But this afternoon's run of the European wasn't nearly as crazy as what the NAM 3KM is showing. And I think the European is really the model that we want to rely on the most in this scenario here. And right now, I'll show you guys what it's looking like. It looks actually a little bit closer to the Her. It's not as deep. It's a little bit further inland. And it'll still have a pressure rise with it during the day on Christmas Eve. But this run has much weaker wind gusts coming up the Willamette Valley. Sorry, I'm looking way ahead there. My bad. There we go. Like 30, 40, like more run-of-the-mill stuff. But the problem... Hey, pausing real quick to say thank you to Michael Clayton on Facebook. Thank you for the stars. No problem. You're welcome. But the problem is the European ensemble data still has quite a few members that show stronger wind. Okay, so let's take a bit more of a zoomed in look here. Surface wind. We'll go to wind gusts. And I'm going to zoom in towards the Seattle view, which shows a good chunk of western Washington here. And we're going to make sure that we're on the European, not the GFS. There we go. Wind gusts. So there's Tuesday. Tomorrow's going to be a pretty nice break. And then here is Wednesday on the 18Z. Really nothing crazy. We've been seeing this kind of wind all fall. Some wind gusts up towards maybe 40 miles per hour. But the ensemble data for the 18Z, so here's that control run, right? Shows about, what is that? A 35 mile per hour gust for Seattle. But then we have plenty of members within the ensemble data. Right here we have a 50 mile per hour gust member. Right there's, I believe that's a 58 mile per hour member. 51, 52, 59, 54, 61, 64, 55, 60, 60, 60, 63, 60, 55. So there's still a lot of members that show strong winds coming into Seattle on Christmas Eve, but then there's a lot that don't have strong winds. This is like one of the toughest forecasts ever. Look at this. There's a couple members that have a peak wind gust on Christmas Eve of around 17 miles per hour, 11 miles per hour, and 17 miles per hour. And then we have other members that show peak wind gusts of around 64. So which solution is going to win out? Are we going to get the NAM 3KM, which again, this is what the NAM 3KM is showing. Thank you, Elise, for the stars over on Facebook there. And one thing I forgot to share which I'm going to share real fast before I go any further, is my coffee. Some people pronounce it like Ko-Fi, but I like coffee because what it does is it allows creators to keep 100% of whatever people end up donating. Whereas a super chat or stars, Facebook and YouTube, they take a pretty good cut from those donations that people are wanting to give 100% of to creators.
So probably lots of power outages.
So I am going to go ahead and pin my coffee there. And also those funds become available immediately, and it kind of helps pay for gas on storm chases and things like that. So anyways, enough of that. Continuing on. So again, this is what the NAM 3 cam is showing. There's going to be a big difference between a storm like this.
We may already be having network issues.
This on the HER. And the next 24 hours of model data is going to be incredibly important. Really curious to see what tonight's European's going to look like. Hey, thank you, Donna, for becoming a member. Yeah, Western Washington weather. I just went ahead and muted that.
All right, let me know what's happening where you are, guys. Let me know.
Okay, so let's take a look at the GFS. So it was kind of interesting. The European led the charge on showing this storm, and other models were being reluctant to show the storm. And then last night, other models started showing the storm in line with the European. And then this morning, the European took a step back. And then the afternoon European started taking a step towards it again. So this is the 18Z GFS, shows the storm. That'd be a pretty substantial blow for North California, Oregon, and also portions of Washington State there. Deborah says the wind is howling in Lakewood. Take a quick look at the gusts happening right now. Looks like we got some 33 mile per hour gusts over there at Payne Field right now. Lots of upper 20s to the low 30 mile per hour gusts up and down the Puget Sound area right now. Nothing too crazy, but noticeably windy. All right, I'm going to pause real quick and I'm going to look at your questions. Want to make sure I'm not missing anything. And by the way, if you're watching on Facebook, I'm also live on YouTube, and the YouTube link is linked in the comments, and the view is going to be a little bit more viewer friendly than what's showing on Facebook. All right. Stream quality is good. Sam asks, how's it going to be in Loxley, I think, for Christmas Eve? It's hard to know. And yes, I do live kind of around the Loxley area. What the NAM is showing, it's going to be pretty nasty. Southerlies, 50, 60 miles per hour. If what the European showed today were to occur around the Lake Stevens, Granite Falls area, maybe 30, 40 miles per hour. But we should, the models should start locking in. The model should start locking in here, I would think, in the next 24 hours for sure. One thing, we do have a winter storm warning up in the mountains. I'm a little bit surprised that we don't have a winter weather advisory up for the Central Cascades right now, especially considering we have chains required on all vehicles up at Snoqualmie Pass right now. I mean, look at that, Snoqualmie Pass. It's just caked in snow, and there's no winter weather advisories whatsoever up there right now. But we do have a winter weather advisory for the Olympic Mountains. We got some gale warnings out there. It expires in 2 hours off the coast. And got a gale warning over there over the Strait of Juan de Fuca. All right, looking at your comments again here. Hey, Mark Stewart. Welcome to the chat. Can I show a comparison to what it looks like to what happened versus the Columbus Day storm? I don't know if I really want to quite do that because I don't know. There are certain elements of this that are similar to the Columbus Day storm, but there's a lot of elements that are also not similar. So I do not think this is going to be a storm on the caliber of the Columbus Day storm by any means, but it could still be a very significant windstorm if what some of these model runs are showing do verify. So again, if you're just hopping in and you didn't see this, I want to show you, this is the most recent European ensemble data. We got the 18Z model run on the left, the 12Z model run on the right. The 18Z is the most recent. 12Z is the one that ran earlier this morning. The 12Z was a step back from what I was showing on the 06Z run and the 0Z run. And then the 18Z re-strengthened its consensus to some degree. But there still is a little bit of uncertainty with just how strong this is going to be. And it's tough. I don't really want to get into detail on exactly what I think is going to happen just yet because the models are they're still all over the place. Jennifer, appreciate that. Bellingham could get in on the action. As a matter of fact, I have some ensemble data pulled up right here for Bellingham. And so this is looking at the European ensemble data for the 18Z European. And here we have the control run. And then we have 50 different members. And basically the control run, how this works is the control run takes the current conditions in the atmosphere and on the surface and ocean, sea surface temperatures and all these different things, all the current observations that we have from weather balloons and weather stations and assimilating data from airplanes and just everything. And based off of that base level observation, it runs its whole entire model for several days and what it thinks is going to happen. And then each one of these members has something that the supercomputer has tweaked just a little bit. Like basically, what if this observation up in Alaska was actually off by 1 degree? And then what if this upper air jet streak that we think is 150 knots is actually 160 knots? And so there's a whole bunch of different things that get tweaked and it'll pop out different solutions because the truth is none of these models 100% perfectly know what is going on at any given time. And so pops out 51 different members that have slightly tweaked background conditions. And quite a few of these members have strong solutions for Bellingham. So Bellingham, there's a lot of weak solutions and a lot of strong solutions. But out of the 50, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 solutions that are reasonably strong solutions for the Bellingham area. And then there's a handful of solutions that are pretty run-of-the-mill windy solutions. And then we have quite a few solutions that are weak, like non-existent windstorm solutions. And when we look at all the different stations in the area, that's Bellingham, here's Snohomish County. It's kind of the same story. In Snohomish County, we got, how many strong solutions do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 out of 50. I can't read this one number right there. Okay, yeah. So not all the solutions are showing a strong windstorm just yet, but enough are for it to be something to raise your eyebrow at. Soft Spirits, can I show the model grid for Portland area? Yes, I can. Yeah, really, Oregon, if these models verify, Oregon is going to get it. So here's just looking at the Pacific Northwest view. 18Z model run. Brings it through. It's weaker than what I was showing on the 06. The 06Z model run was pretty wild. A little bit closer to what the NAM is showing right now. But just for funsies, again, I'm going to show the NAM 3 cam again, and I just want to issue a huge disclaimer here. I'm actually going to put it across the screen if I can. Boop. No. Boop. No. No. I should have been more prepared for this. Anyways, I can't find it. So somewhere I have a graphic that says low confidence, and that's exactly what this is. I'm going to zoom in to the Oregon state level here just for a second and show you just how bonkers this model run of the NAM 3 cam is. And again, don't panic. This is only one model run, and not every model is showing this. So this is going into Christmas Eve right here, and you start seeing it creep up down there by Crescent City. This model run has it gusting to, I think that's 98 miles per hour. And then just brutal wind gusts across southwest Oregon. And then this brings a crazy fetch of like 75 to 80 mile per hour gusts up and down the Willamette Valley, 70 to 75 into Portland. And then up into Vancouver, Washington as well. And then 65 to 70 into Southwest Washington. So I'm really hoping this does not come anywhere close to happening, if I'm being honest. That would not be good if that were to happen. And right now, that's really the only model that's showing anything close to that strong. The HER is much weaker with it. Sorry, that's a weird version of the HER there I was looking at. Sorry. Okay, there's the HER. And you can see it's much, much weaker. And actually, it's stronger for California and Eastern Oregon. And brings some maybe like 40 mile per hour gusts up into Washington State. And the European, also much weaker. Looking at the wrong time frame. Right there it is. But the thing is, it could trend stronger or it could trend weaker, as we already looked at a bunch of times on the ensemble data. So really, the long story short is it's not looking great. Something we could take a quick look at here is UW GFS data. If it would load. This browser is having some issues. Okay. Stream quality still working good for you guys? This window is having a tough time loading this right now for some reason. Okay. So yeah, this is looking at the UW GFS. This is the 12Z. And yeah, that's just a really tight low, moving right up off west of the Oregon coast, west of the Washington coast and just brings a brutal pressure gradient right over the Olympic Mountains, which would lead to really strong winds up and down the I-5 corridor. See if we can get even better quality on that real quick. Looking at the 1 1/3 kilometer. For Western Washington. There we go. Yikes, yeah. This is I'm desperately hoping this does not happen. All right, if you're enjoying this live stream so far, please make sure and hit that like button and also subscribe for future content. Most of the content on this channel is going to be storm chasing. Part of me kind of wishes I just decided to drive up to Snoqualmie Pass tonight because it's snowing pretty good, even though there's no winter weather advisory. But yeah, chains are required up there, folks. So heads up. The models were showing that it was going to snow pretty good with this cold front. Okay, so back to the GFS on the UW here. The UW wharf. So right here, it has this surface low moving right up the Washington coast. Thank you for the stars. I'll talk about the San Juans here in just a second, Laura. So the GFS has this crazy pressure gradient. It kind of shows a bit of a lee low there on the lee of the Olympic Mountains over there right now too, and just wild pressure gradient, which would lead to crazy strong winds up and down the Admiralty Inlet and also into the San Juans there, and up and down the I-5 corridor. Yeah, I'll be honest, it's kind of hard to communicate what is exactly going to happen because of just how all over the models are. And I think a good thing to do would be to take a look at the National Weather Service's forecast discussion, because they talk about the uncertainty as well, and they do a really good job at it. So I'm going to make sure that you guys can all see this before I go any further. Thank you, Nathali, for the stars. Appreciate it. Okay, for you folks on Facebook, that's a little hard to see, so I'm going to zoom out just a little bit for you. All right. So here we go. This is talking about the Christmas Eve storm right here. The next incoming weather system will intensify off the coast of California late Tuesday and shift northward across western Washington on Wednesday. While forecast models continue to struggle with the exact track of this surface low feature, it poses a risk of a low probability, high impact wind event alongside additional precipitation. So again, it poses a risk of a low probability, and I'm just going to click on probability right here. Basically what they mean is there's a chance, right? A probability forecast, a forecast of the probability of that one or more of a mutually exclusive set of weather conditions will occur. So we have a low chance of a high impact wind event alongside additional precipitation. East to southeast winds are likely to pick up during the morning Wednesday along the western slopes of the Olympics and Cascades, followed by a surge of stronger southerly winds during the day Wednesday, while ensemble mean wind gusts continue to range generally between 30 and 40 miles per hour across much of western Washington. And if you've been watching the stream so far, we've looked at that. A high-end scenario, which again, this is the low probability scenario, the low probability, high impact wind event scenario, but regardless, it's a scenario that's possible, could bring sudden winds reaching 60 miles per hour or more if the low pressure system tracks in the vicinity of western Washington. Confidence will increase as more high-resolution forecast data becomes available as the event draws closer. It will remain extremely important to continue to monitor the evolving forecast over the next few days. And so really what that means right there is you should become familiar with weather.gov. If you don't know how to navigate this website, just type in weather.gov on your web browser, and you can click anywhere on this map depending on where you live in the United States of America. For us here in Washington, you can click on Eastern Washington or Western Washington. I live in Western Washington, and then I generally know where I live here in Lake Stevens, so I can just click right there, and I clicked on Granite Falls. That's close enough. Bring it down here to Lake Stevens, and boom, you get a point and shoot little forecast for your location here, which is great. Looking at Wednesday here, it's showing a chance of wind gusts and whatnot. But if you want to read this forecast discussion that I'm reading right now, you can find it by doing what I just did. And then boom, there it is. Look at that forecast discussion. I have been reading these forecast discussions since I was like 5 years old. So it's great to know what the National Weather Service meteorologists are thinking, is basically the idea. So we'll have higher confidence. Confidence will increase as more high-resolution forecast data becomes available as the event draws closer. It will remain extremely important to continue to monitor the evolving forecast over the next few days, especially given the antecedent soil moisture, which may allow for heightened impacts. And basically what they mean by that is the soil is so saturated by all the rain that we've had over the last couple of weeks that it's going to be a little bit easier for trees to uproot if we do get strong winds. And we saw that just the other day with the westerly winds. In addition to the potentially gusty winds on Wednesday, the lowlands will see up to a quarter inch of rain, while elevations above 2,500 feet will see a couple of inches of snow. So, good evening, Brian Rock Rail fan. Okay. I'm going to look through your comments for just a second here. Everyone's asking for their individual area. To be perfectly honest, at this range, it's not worth going over each individual area. And the reason why I say that is because the models are all over the place. The European is showing one thing. The GFS is showing one thing. The NAM3CAM is showing another thing. And the HER is showing another thing. And there's really no way at this range to give you a good enough answer for what exactly will happen for your neighborhood. For your neighborhood and for any neighborhood in Washington State right now, the number one message that needs to be communicated is this: a windstorm is possible on Christmas Eve. To what degree the windstorm will be, we do not know. It could be a weak one, or it could be a strong one. I wish I had some sort of, glass ball, a Palantir, like a Lord of the Rings Palantir. It could just be like, Saruman just trying to check out what's going on in Mordor, but I can't. So, okay. Yeah, I see Scooter Pie quoting Ryan Hall. Don't be scared, be prepared. All right, go ahead and let me know if you guys have any questions. Also, make sure and hit the like button on the stream, all the good stuff. Oh my goodness, the Sparky Pilot says that they do Tengwar Elvish calligraphy as a little side hustle. That is amazing. You should send me a message on my Facebook page. I may be interested in commissioning some of your work for my wife. We are giant Lord of the Rings nerds. Here's the precipitation that's currently moving through. This is looking at the precipitation type. And it's falling as rain in the lowlands. And snow in the mountains. And again, looking at the webcams here, it's already covering I-90 up there. Pretty nasty looking conditions. Chains required on all vehicles. And still no winter weather advisory. Cracks me up. All right, looking at your comments here. Thank you, Keith. I appreciate it. Yeah, Sparky Pilot, if you just look up Washington Weather Chaser's Facebook page, you can send me a message there. Cassidy Cushing asks over on Facebook, so Ocean Shores should be okay? Just want to make sure. So Ocean Shores, there's a chance you guys could get a strong windstorm, but there's also a chance that it could be a nothing burger. That's literally what the model data is showing us. This is looking at an area that's pretty close to Ocean Shores. This is for Hoquiam, Bowerman Airport. And for that location, the European, at this point in time, is showing 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 members out of 50 that are showing a strong windstorm for your location. Thank you, Puget Sound Stormwatch. Oh, okay. So Brian asks, what about Kelso? Yeah, I think so. Southwest Washington has the best chance of getting stronger winds for the whole entire state at this point. Maybe Dot Boo says, I personally think the Namthurcam is interesting, but it's relatively outlier. I agree. It is an outlier. The thing that kind of concerns me, I guess, is it's kind of close to what the European was showing last night. So I'm going to show you guys here. Here we go. So on the left is the European run from this afternoon. On the right is the European run from last night. And I guess it's just a little bit concerning that what the Nam3Cam is showing is really similar to what the European was showing last night. And so I'm concerned to some degree that the European is going to trend back towards the stronger solution, which seems like it could be possible considering how many European members are still showing a strong solution, although it's probably only around 25% or something of the members that are showing that strong solution. Sam asks if this is similar to the 2006 Hanukkah Eve storm setup. Not exactly. I mean, that was obviously a crazy, crazy storm. What we can do is we can look at that on here real quick. That was December 15th into 16th. All right. So, year 2006. And let's just put on surface sea pressure here. All right, you can see the storm going off right there. I'm going to zoom out a bit here so we get a bit more of a wide view. Go back a day. So that storm started further to the west and then moved up northeast and crossed right over South Vancouver Island. And the Olympic Peninsula. And if we were to take a quick look at what the jet stream looked like for that. The jet stream was oriented a bit different for that storm. It was more of a westerly to northwesterly direction. Very strong jet streak though. Whereas this storm if we look at the North American view here, this jet stream dives down off of Alaska, goes straight south, and then makes a sharp turn almost directly north at the west coast in Washington State. That's going to steer this storm straight north. And where this storm forms, instead of forming way to the west over here, it actually forms way south just off of the California coast, and then it basically moves straight north. It's a pretty interesting track. Yeah, then briefly, one thing I wanted to talk about before I get too bogged down in the weeds here is the models are showing the possibility after a bit of a lull over the weekend and then possibly getting a bit more active early next week towards the new year in the first couple days of January, a possibly colder pattern setting up. So that would be pretty cool if that were actually, no pun intended, that'd be pretty nice for you snow lovers if this is catching on to something. But we'll have to see. Oh, wow. Sam, you experienced that Hanukkah Day storm. That's crazy. Okay, folks, I'm going to look over your questions one more time, and then I'm probably going to call it a bit of a night. I don't want to leave all of you Eastern Washington people out. I'm going to show you guys briefly what the NAM 3CAM was showing for you guys, which again, this is the strongest solution we have so far. But so far, it's not looking like Eastern Washington is under the gun for this upcoming windstorm. Just by the way. All right. Looking at the comments here. Thanks everyone for hanging out. And thank you, Donna, for becoming a member earlier. Really appreciate that. If you've been enjoying this stream and you haven't done it already, make sure and hit that like button. Wind possibilities for Lake Stevens. Right now, it could be anywhere from a nothing burger to a pretty substantial windstorm. On Christmas Eve, we're still in that window of kind of uncertainty. Sweet. Yeah, if you guys want to tune in to Pacific Northwest Weather Watch, Michael Snyder is going live at 8:45 this evening. And he's probably going to be looking over the most recent runs of the GFS and the European into the night. So I highly recommend you guys check that out as well. And as a matter of fact, we actually have some new GFS data that we can look at here. Still has it. Yeah, that would be a decent windstorm for Oregon and Washington still right there. And Whatcom County weather also going live. So you guys have options. That's great. And yes, I also was able to test out my Starlink today. That was pretty awesome. Was able to do a live stream in areas that I was not able to before. And chances are I'll most likely be out covering this storm to some degree on Christmas Eve. Okay, folks. Hey, thanks for hanging out with me tonight. I really do appreciate it. And if I didn't answer for your specific area, basically, I'm not going to get into specifics until there's higher agreement between models on what exactly is going to happen with the placement of this surface low and the depth of this surface low. Once we have an idea of that to more degree, we'll have an idea of what the wind gusts are actually going to be. But the GFS is still showing a substantial storm. I'm sure the UW GFS tonight is going to be pretty crazy. And this is comparing the 18Z GFS on the right to the 0Z on the left here. Going to back it up. There we go. So yeah, the 0Z GFS shows a stronger low now. Than it did on the 18Z. And if we were to look at the 12Z, it's also stronger than what I was showing on the 12Z. Oh, boy. And again, this is the 12Z right here on the UW GFS, and that was showing a pretty substantial pressure gradient over much of Washington State there. So yeah. Okay, folks. I will probably catch you guys later. I'm going to go ahead and tune out. And I'll be doing another update tomorrow night, I'm sure. And also most likely going to do another video tomorrow. And then Christmas Eve, expect some live storm chasing. So be watching for that. Kelly on Facebook just now says, totally late to this party. Can I have a quick update, please? Quick update. Windstorm is possible. Christmas Eve. Windstorm is possible still. The most recent European shows a slightly stronger than the morning run did. And then the most recent GFS shows a stronger low than the afternoon or morning run showed. And that would be a very substantial blow for North California, much of Western Oregon, and Western Washington. And then the NAM 3KM is probably the most impressive run of all the models, and just brings a brutal blow to North California, Western Oregon, and Western Washington. But there is not a huge model consensus just yet on what the depth of the low is going to be and what the windstorms are going to be. So, I am hoping that this ends up being a nothing burger. I would be very happy if the models just end up making this thing go poof and it goes away, because I don't want everyone's Christmas Eve and Christmases to be ruined. but that's just my own opinion. And we're going to have more confidence on what is going to happen, most likely by tomorrow afternoon and evening would be my guess. And so tomorrow night is going to be the evening where either all the weather people in Washington State, Pacific Northwest are sounding the alarm, or all the weather people in the Pacific Northwest are trying to communicate, hey guys, it looks like the danger has passed. And so we'll just have to see how that coin toss goes. So thanks for joining me tonight, guys. Don't forget to subscribe or follow the pages, and I will go ahead and talk to you guys later.